Boa tarde a todos. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to see you here with us. Many thanks for your visit. I think TÜV is very important in our ecosystem. Somehow it's a good complement to the services that we are providing to the companies. And I think we'll have the opportunity to demonstrate that after the presentation. My name is António Cunha. I manage one of the labs of IPN, of Institute de Nunes. In fact, it's the lab that is more related with this issue, with medical devices regulation. I will spend 5-10 minutes only to explain you why and how we are doing these type of things in IPN, and because after that we have some colleagues that know much more about this issue than me. And okay, as you know, I believe I see a lot of familiar faces, then you know this story, but IPN has 3 main pillars. We have 6 R&D labs where we do applied research with companies. Second pillar, we have an incubation and an accelerator. In fact, we are in an accelerator. The incubation where we have, or in the incubator, where we have less mature companies or company startups that somehow they are starting. And also we have a second stage that we call accelerator, where we have companies, more mature companies, of course, that maintain the technological base, but need to be somehow the capacity to be outside or need to be internationalized, and also need to have dimension. Okay, then somehow there are the criteria to be here in the accelerator. Then in the second pillar we have 2 stages: acceleration and incubation and acceleration. Finally, we have a department to provide training to companies, where, for example, they support the companies in internationalization or innovation management. They organize courses with companies. And if we want to somehow to display the different services that the startups could find in these facilities, of course, the connection with the university is very, very strong, because in fact IPN, it was created by Queen University to improve the relation with companies. Then IPN is part of the university. And the first stage that we have here in IPN are performed by these 6 labs, where of course we have capacity to develop. We have engineering, permanent staff to help the companies to develop new prototypes, MVPs, etc. Of course, we have capacity also to attract some investment, because normally the startups or the companies have a lot of dreams, have a lot of challenges, but they don't have money. Then we need to have these 2 issues: technological capacity, but also capacity to attract financing instruments, or to work with some financial instruments. We have also another unit that is a unit that supports us, for example, in the IP, intellectual property management, to support in the patents, to support to write the contracts with the companies, the licensing contracts, and so on. Then somehow is the different services that we can provide, and is the way how we can help the companies that we have in our incubator, but not only in the incubator. And somehow, zooming a bit, and this it will be the last slide that I have, zooming a bit to our lab, to the automatics lab, where we are crossing the fields like instrumentation, electronics, robotics, etc., with health. We have 4 pillars. Of course, the first one is the ID validation. We consider that part is very important. Somehow I mentioned that in the morning, that it's very important to kill the bad ideas in a very early stage because it's cheaper. Okay, then that's why we have a good relation with KOLs, key opinion leaders in hospitals and so to evaluate the ideas before to spend money. Second stage, prototyping. We have capacity to prototype with the companies, not to the companies, but with the companies, using technologies, embedded AI, robotics, and this type of areas, and doing these different MVPs or these different prototype versions, because these different versions are connected with different rounds of investment. Like we can produce the first MVP, the company could have some money, we produce the second MVP, somehow the company could have access to more money. This is somehow a cycle, right? Next pillar, and it's a quite recent pillar, or at least is organized, it was organized recently. And an example of that is the European test site, or in fact, we are building 7 test sites at European level. We are managing the national test sites. And the idea here is to create like a single door between the hospitals and the startups. In fact, the idea is to organize the process to facilitate the job to startups that want, not only startups, but companies in general that want somehow to have access to the hospital to test something in digital health, in particular solutions that have AI and robotics. Okay? Then this part is very, very important in health, because before to prove that the prototype works and generate benefit, it's very, very difficult to have, again, to attract money. Then that's why this part to prove the value is very, very important, and we are in this European initiative. In Portugal, we have 2 key points or 2 key sites here with Coimbra University Hospital, and we in Porto with São João with University Hospital also, and somehow they are the stars of the project, because in the end they have the field, the test field that the startups will that could access. Finally, and this is the topic for today, is the regulatory the regulation for medical devices. Sandra and the colleagues will of course add more information about it. But maybe to share with you why we have this unit here, or why we started this, because it was not obvious 10 years ago. Well, then I want to share with you a story that in 2017 I was in a jury in Naples, in Italy, in a competition, in a startup competition. And in an informal moment, I talked with 2 Portuguese companies that on that time were participating in that competition. And these 2 Portuguese companies were doing certification with a company from Israel. That's why we thought on that time, and of course now we have more, we are sure about it, that in fact it was a need in Portugal to support startups in this field of the innovation chain. Somehow in the regulatory part, then it was not enough to support the companies in the technological perspective. It was not enough to support the companies in the clinical perspective. Then somehow this slice of the innovation chain, it was a bottleneck in all the chain, and that's why we are investing on this. We have a team, for example, with 7 people now, and we are contracting more. And somehow is a sign, or is a reflection, or that in fact is a need in Portugal, and not only in Portugal. Then thanks for your presence, and Sandra.
Good afternoon. When we wait. So my name is Sandra Valser. I don't know if you know me. I'm the head of the medical device regulatory support unit. So we are a young age at IPN at Lash. We have only 3 years of activity. So today I'm going to share a little bit of an overview about the process of the regulatory process of a startup, normally, or company or startup, or even a company that exists in the market but doesn't have a medical device, start all with an idea. And this idea could be engaged to a product, a final product that could be a useful one for the community, for the population, and for all the world. The main thing that we have here, we have an idea, is to engage this idea with the regulatory requirements. So if we have a medical device or an IVD, we have to not only to protect the idea, that is a huge step that you have to perform for the goods of your idea, not only to define what kind of testing, what kind of methods that I have to perform in order to this idea could be put on the market in terms of performance, but we also have to get knowledge about the regulatory framework. This is very important, and you have to start to looking for that at the first day that you decide to put this idea into work. Okay? So this is a little bit of a joke, MD or IVD or not MDR or IVD, that is the question. So this is the first question that you have to answer. And if it's yes, so you have to be working within the regulatory requirements. Okay? So we have a little bit of a resume of the milestones to get CE mark since we are in Europe. I know that some of you have another kind of markets spots, but we are focused here and now in Europe process. So normally we have resume in a few kind of steps. Okay, we have to first qualify and classify the product. To, if it's a medical device or an IVD, to get knowledge about the general safety and performance requirement and make the checklist for the applicable ones. Then see what kind of standards, guideline, common specification you have within these kind of products. Then verify and test. Clinical evaluation or performance evaluation if you have talking about medical device or in vitro. Risk assessment and technical documentation and KMS definition. And so once you have these all steps, you are open to get the CE mark. Okay? So I'm going to talk a little bit more further these steps. The first one is qualification. So this is a huge step, because if you are qualified to be a medical device within the Article 2 definition, you have a lot of work in front of you. So don't be scared, okay? But you have, once you are a medical device or an in vitro, you have to get knowledge about the regulatory requirements. Not only for Europe, but whatever market that you are part in of, okay? So the first thing to be a medical device is to be used for human, this is a little bit strange, to be for human use, okay, and to have a clear clinical purpose. These two things are the main things that you have to consider in order to get your product within the medical device regulation. Not as this straightforward, because we're going to see an exception regarding the Annex 16, that even they are not medical device, they have to comply with the regulation. So, and if you check those two boxes, you have to see if is primarily function is not pharmacological, immunological, or metabolic. Okay? For IVD, almost the same thing. They have to have a purpose to use in human samples. So for IVD, this is very particular because normally the same test or the same protein could also check proteins or diseases in other kinds of animals or even in food, okay? But the purpose should be to be used in human samples and also to have clinical value. Okay, so we have to engage the testing with some clinical value for testing a disease, for example. Okay. How can we engage the product with the regulation? The first thing is to make sure about the intended use that I want to give to the product. This is very, very important. Sometimes our clients doesn't have this considered because even if in some products the intended use is obvious, in some others are not so obvious. So is this engaged with the intended use that the manufacturer does that could lead me to a regulatory roadmap? Okay? So basically, we have some products that, depending on the intended use that I gave to them, could be fit in other kinds of groups of products. So this is sometimes indicated as borderlines, and this is also a huge step for you to get know of in order to see if you want to really engage with the medical device regulation or not. Okay? Okay. So, another question. My product is not a medical device, but does MDR is applied to them? It depends on the products. The MDR in Annex 16 gave us examples of products that don't have clinical purpose, but still have to comply with the MDR. There are 6 groups that are indicated here. It's only examples, okay? So, like tattoo removers, the laser ones, the fillers, okay? The brain stimulators, the contact lens without clinical purposes, only for cosmetic purpose. Those kind of examples also have to comply with the MDR and also have to engage with the notified body. Okay? So, step 2, I have an IVD, I have an MD, or I have an exception that is identified in the Annex 16. What should I do? I should classify. This is another huge step that once more the clinical purpose could give us different classifications, of course, depending on the product. Okay? So basically, we have in Annex 8 the rules for IVD or MD classification. And this is very, very important because the classification could lead us to different regulatory frameworks. If I am a class 1 or a class A, I don't need a notified body intervention. Of course, if I don't have specific and special features like sterile, like reusable, etc. But class 2A, 2B, 3, or class B, C, and D, we have to have the notified body intervention. So the process is more complex, okay? Because I have a third party to look into my technical documentation and my QMS. So this is also a huge step, an important one. Only to resume, how can I classify? I have classes, as I told you. I have also examples here regarding the classification. I'm not going to do the exercise that I normally do about the classification and show you a little bit more of the rules regarding classification, but only for you to have a little bit of an overview. We have 4 classes for MD and for IVD. For IVD, this is completely new regarding the directive classification. Okay, so basically, if I'm in the, I don't know if I'm getting, okay, so in this field here, I don't need TÜV SÜD. I don't need you. If I am a class 1 or a class A, but if I'm a class 2, 2A, 2B, 3, or B, C, D, yes, I have to have their intervention or another one, another notified body, okay? So basically this is very, very a step that is critical for you to see and to look and to decide. Okay, the third step here, for me, I put it in here because it's important for you to look for the general safety and performance requirements before getting a new step. Why? Because I have to check which ones are applicable or not applicable. And when I see the applicable ones, then I'm getting the sources for standard filter. Okay? So this is a very huge step also. And here I'm going to check which ones I have to fulfill. Okay? Applicable, not applicable. So I always say this is a great part of the step because you are going to check, I don't need to do that. So yeah, I have to escape from this requirement here. So it's good for you to also get a little bit more info about the kind of work that you are going to proceed after this. So the fourth is linked to the previous one. The third one is, okay, I have checked which kind of requirements I have to comply. So I'm going to look if there are some standards that led me and guide me to comply with these requirements. Not only standards, but guidelines, common specification, and so on and so on. Some products have a quite huge kinds and types of standards. The other ones have only few ones. So you have to see what kind of information that you are going to take from the the requirements that you need to check. So I have here only a few examples about the ones that are applicable for all of the medical device and in vitro, like 13485, the 14971, and the 62366. That is quality management system, risk management, and usability. These three are applicable to all. So you have a start. So you have to look about the other specific ones. Okay? For instance, for software, you have to look also to 62304. So it depends a little bit on your product and the group of products that are engaged with. So I know that this is for directive, but nevertheless, they gave you a clue about the standards engaged with the products. So we have a huge type of groups that gave us guideline standards that you have to check. This is not the easiest job, I know. Normally, I advise you to look if you have some similar product into the market and look what kind of standards they are engaged with, in order to give you also a clue about the ones you should follow. Okay? But of course, normally you have to be careful about this choice, because it could lead you for different kinds of testing and requirements that you should follow. Nevertheless, we have not only standards, we have guidelines. And several groups, international groups, gave us guidelines that we should meet and follow. So it's difficult to find standards and guidelines, I know, but you have to have this information in order to be fully compliant with all the requirements applicable to your product. Okay? This is a little bit of an overview. How do we do a checklist? So we have a requirement, we have the standard, and we have the internal documentation that gave us evidence of compliance. Okay? Only an example. Don't worry. So I have the checklist, I have the guides. Now I'm prepared to see what kind of testing and verification I should follow. So this is also a huge step. Normally it's linked to the standards requirements, and this is very important for you to have and to check if the lab is accredited or not, because notified body doesn't pass tests that are not accredited. This is a very huge step. Only if you perform it yourself, some of them you can perform it within your company, but if you cannot do that and you have to perform it in a lab, please check if it's accredited lab. This is very important, and I have only few examples of testing that are the most important for you to get: biocompatibility, bioburden, usability, shelf life, transport, validation, etc., etc. You should, depending on the product, check all these boxes. I have here, TÜV SÜD also have accredited labs. It's only for presenting you some kind of testing that they perform. They are right choice because they are accredited, but there are other examples. So normally in this step we have to check what kind of tests are specific to my product, and I should comply in order to have the CE mark. Okay? Of course, biocompatibility is not applicable for software. Okay? This is an example of standards that we have to follow, but depends on, of course, your product. So, step 6, clinical evaluation and performance evaluation. After having the verification of your product, you are prepared to go through to the next step, that is clinical evaluation or performance evaluation if you have an IVD. Okay? So in this step, it's very important for you to see what kind of clinical purpose, what kind of user. If I have enough data from the preclinical testing that can give me enough data for me to issue a clinical evaluation report according to the clinical data, or if I have to perform a clinical trial. So this is very important also for me to check if I comply with all boxes in order to get the clinical evaluation or the performance evaluation. The performance evaluation is more tricky because I have always to perform analytical validation of my kit, of my IVD test. So also related to that is the clinical evaluation follow-up. The clinical follow-up is also mentioned here in the 6th step because it's engaged with them. Because I have to fulfill also with post-market requirements. And the procedure is almost the same as that I made for qualifying my product. I have to re-qualify the product in the few years that I put it into the market, and until I take it out of the market, I have to have this process. So, as I told you, please engage and see if the clinical data that you have, for instance, regarding the pre-market, the preclinical testing is enough. If it's enough, okay, I can go through the process to get the CE mark. If it's not, I have to perform a clinical trial, okay? So this is very important in terms of performance. Also, I have to perform the analytical validation, clinical validation, and also, as I told you, they have to have clinical value, so I have to have the scientific validity of the IVD testing, okay? To get the performance evaluation. Step 7, I know that the risk management should be done within the cycle of the product. I put it here because it's the compilation of all the data that I have absorbed within the other steps, but you have to have a risk management process established, okay, and you should follow the ISO 14971 in order to comply with this requirement. That it is also a huge step for you to do because you have to check all the risks regarding the life cycle of the product and to have measures to control the risk. And once you don't have the risk reduced as to be acceptable, you have to make an overview about the the risk benefit of the product in order to put the product safely into the market. This is also a great step that we have to be careful with and to check in order to have the CE mark. So ISO, this is the ISO that we should follow, and also we have to have a plan, a matrix, an evaluation of the risk, and then a report of this data. 8, and the last one, and I'm going to finish almost the presentation. We have a technical documentation issuing and the quality management system implementation. So this is the last step that we have to do in order to have the process enough mature to submit to the notified body. Okay? This is the last step, and we have to be careful with Annex 2 and Annex 3 of the MDR or IVDR, and also have to be careful with the ISO 13485 requirements and the Article 10 requirements from the MDR. That is slightly different, and they have more requirements that we should follow in order to have the KMS compliant. Okay? Oh, sorry. So basically, we have 2 pillars that we have to fulfill in order to submit to the notified body. Okay? Annex 2, as I told you, gave you an overview about the contents of the technical documentation. And if you see, we have here some of the steps that I have told you that you have to follow in order to get the CE mark. And this is normally to compile all the information within one document, the document only that we have to submit to the notified. The Annex 3 is new regarding the directive. I know normally the new companies don't worry about that because they don't know the directive requirements. This is new, the post-market, but we have also to engage with these requirements in order to submit the technical documentation to the notified body. So I'm going to only give you an observation that you have to have a plan and you have to have a report. It depends on the classification. It could change the report requirements, okay? So basically, to submit to the notified body, if we need one, we have to compile the technical documentation, we have to have a quality management system, and if we have some features that are specific to my product, for instance, if I have a medical device that have medicine substance, we have to also engage with other competent authorities in order to submit the process, the full process to the notified. Basically, what do you have to do? You have to check all the points once you have an idea of a medical device or an IVD. And the regulatory process will follow you within all the steps of the device life until you take it out of the market. So the regulatory part doesn't end in the approval. We have to get all the requirements within the life of the device or the product. How can I help you? And I'm going to be short about this. We have services for compliance of all the steps. And for instance, step 1 and 3 and 2, we can make, for instance, a regulatory roadmap, a regulatory roadmap gap analysis if you have one. So step 3 and 4, we can help you to elaborate, review your GSPR checklist to see if you have all the standards checked or not, etc. So in step 5, we can support you to select the right lab for your testing. We can also help you when you have to elaborate the biological evaluation report, the usability testing plan and report also. For step 6, we can help you to plan and report your clinical evaluation, your performance evaluation. Also, we have partners that help you also to get your clinical trial to work. For risk management, the same. We can support you with the full process of risk management to get, for instance, cybersecurity plan and report elaboration, and so on. Finally, for the full process, we also have some specific services like to implement ISO 13485, to elaborate or review your technical documentation, and to support also in the PMS report post-market surveillance process. This is my team. You can contact us if you need us. If you need some quick advice, we are available also to meet your company and to check if you have some gaps within your regulatory process. And these are our almost new website. It's under construction. Hopefully we'll mail you when we have this implemented. And thank you. And I'm going to give Agnese the report to Stefano.
Hello to everybody, my name is Stefano Bolletta. I'm the Sales and Marketing Manager in the Medical Health Services of Italia. It's a legal entity, a part of the TÜV SÜD group. It's a German notified body. And this, Agnese.
And I'm Agnese Mengoli, I'm the team leader of the Customer Service Department of MHS Italy.
So in this presentation we will introduce the role of the notified body, and I will show you, so in 2 minutes, our notified body, TÜV SÜD. So TÜV SÜD Group is a big organization. Our headquarters is based in Germany, in Munich. We are more than 30,000 employees, and we are located in more than 1,000 sites all over the world, with more than 100 laboratories. It's a really, really big organization that works in the TIC market, testing, inspection, and certification. Today we will speak about product certification, focus on medical device. This is our board of management. So we have a long history, and but it's not important. It's important that we are a network of a global expert with focus on product and safety of the product, in this case of the medical device. So, in general, we provide, as mentioned, testing, auditing, inspection, advisories in only few sectors, training, verification and validation. It's a really, really big network. So we are all over the world. We operate in all over the world. In the field of the medical device, we are one of the biggest notified body. We are a presence, direct presence in more than 20 countries. More or less, we are 2,000 employees, excluding resources involved in testing. And it's important to know that together, only with another notified body, we are the only notified body that are accredited for all code for all device, medical device and in vitro diagnostic device. It's important to know. What we can do for this industry? For the first, we provide service certification, product certification, clinical services, quality management, ISO 13485, ISO 9000 certification, assessment and technical meeting. We provide assessment and technical meeting only when a prospect became a customer. We do not provide any kind of consultant activities. We arrive at the final stage of the all activities that Sandra mentioned before. We do not provide any kind of consultant. It's important to know. It's not possible to ask advice to a notified body. So, I need a testing. Which type of testing? No. It's not in charge to us. It's not possible. It's not allowed. Testing, we have a huge number of laboratories. We provide testing for active medical device, EMC, electrical safety, I don't know, functional safety, penetration test. We provide biocompatibility test, chemical characterization, transportation testing for packaging, and then. We cover all of this type of testing in Europe. We have a huge number of laboratories in UK, in Germany, in Italy. And we are able to provide this testing under accreditation. It's important because the notified body do not accept test without accreditation. So, our presence, we are growing, and it's important that should provide service for all categories of medical device. As mentioned, active, non-active, implantable medical device. Taking consideration that for implantable medical device, also we provide MRI testing, a specific type of testing for implantable medical device. Rehabilitative medical device, in vitro diagnostic device, high-risk device, drug device combination product, device incorporating material of animal origin, medical device software and application, innovative technologies, and also wearable device is an interesting sector in the medical device. It's growing very fast. So this is a part of a presentation related to Vitalia, because we are employed to Vitalia. We have the responsibility of the activity in the Western Europe, excluding UK and Nordic countries. We are an interesting organization. We are more than 1,000, 7-8 employees, more other external partner. We work we have also 6 laboratories, and 3 of 6 laboratories work also for provide testing medical device sector, biocompatibility, EMC, transportation, electrical safety, chemical characterization, and then. We are more than 60 employees, and it's interesting that we have a good and big training academy. It's possible to us provide public training academy, not training academy on site inside a company, because it's consultant. We provide only public testing during this period in remote. It's your time.
So, which is the role of the notified body? As you know, if you have a medical device or in vitro diagnostic device that is not a simple class 1 device or a class A device for IVD, you have to involve a notified body. Even the company that already have on the market a device market with MDD or IVDD needs to involve a notified body and to start again with a new MDR or IVDR certification. This requires times, and we want to transfer you the information that is really relevant to get in contact with the notified body from the beginning. Previously, Sandra told us that you have to think about regulation from the day one, then at least 2 days later, contact a notified body. Which activity can a notified body perform? We can perform a pre-application evaluation. This means that you could send us a pre-application with your classification of the device and also the conformity assessment that you want to apply for, and we could evaluate your proposal, but we cannot suggest you in any way which is the correct classification and which is the correct conformity assessment procedure to apply for. We can then issue the non-binding quotation. As soon as the company accepts the non-binding quotation, we perform the application review. I will tell you about the non-binding quotation. Why non-binding? Is a specific requirement of the medical device regulation and in vitro diagnostics regulation. So we can issue a quotation, but we need to confirm it after the receipt of the application and the first draft of the technical documentation. This is an activity that needs to be performed by the notified body. Then we could plan a meeting and all the evaluation step with you. We perform the technical file evaluation, we perform the audit, and we issue the certificate. Then, after the issuance of the certificate, we also perform all the surveillance activities related to the issued certificate. And we also perform unannounced audit and all the activity related to the maintenance of the certificate. In the technical file evaluation process, according to the kind of device, we could also perform all these additional evaluations, so clinical evaluation, packaging evaluation, sterilization evaluation, biocompatibility, reprocessing, animal origin, and so on. And we are not allowed to perform any kind of consultancy, as we tell before. Probably this is our best phrase, and you will hear a lot of times that we cannot perform any kind of consultancy. Which are the key factors that you have to consider when you choose the notified body? The expertise of the notified body, the competence and qualification of all the resources, the trustability. About the expertise, as Stefano told previously, all the code are covered by the notified body. We are authorized for all the code both for MDR and IVDR. And we are present all over the world. So for instance, if you have a supplier in China and we need to perform the audit on the supplier, then an auditor of TÜV SÜD China can go directly to perform the audit without starting from Europe, for instance. Evaluation and certification time. This needs to be clearly stated from the beginning. And all the additional services. For instance, for our customers that are certified with us, with ISO 13485, we also offer a service that is called Foreign Affairs Department, and we cover the registration in some markets, issuing a confirmation letter, for instance, the Taiwan report, and so on. And at least, but not least, the cost. We could also support you for Article 117. That is a notified body opinion, is applicable to the manufacturer of device that will be pre-filled with the pharmaco.
Yes, drug device combination, like a pre-filled injectable pen or an inhalator, it needs to be evaluated by a notified body with a notified body opinion.
Also the Annex 16, as told before, And the medical device single audit program, that is a program that grants the possibility to access to different markets. The countries that apply for the moment are USA, Canada, that is mandatory for Canada, Japan, Brazil, and Australia. This is the benefit to choose TÜV SÜD. I also one of our service that we cannot, as I told you, cannot perform any kind of consultancy, but you can download the checklist that our reviewers will use to evaluate your technical documentation. That is a very big help for you. You could, for instance, download the sterile packaging checklist and to check previously to send us the documentation if the documentation will satisfy our requirement. And you could also download, for sure, the technical documentation guidance. At the end, you could receive from Sandra all the information and also the presentation with all the link. Which is the conformity assessment procedure that you could choose. These are a brief scheme regarding the choice of the conformity assessment based on the classification of the device. Better in this way. So you could, for instance, for class 3 device, apply for Annex 9 complete or for Annex 10 and addition Annex 11. And so on. Which are the activities that the notified body perform according to the chosen conformity assessment. So for Annex 9, we perform for Chapter 1, we receive the customer inquiry, we issue, as said before, the non-binding quotation. We, okay, you send us probably, hopefully, the purchase order, and we issue the order confirmation. We evaluate the technical documentation. In the evaluation of the technical documentation, in the quotation, you will find that are included 2 rounds of evaluation and are structured as follows. So the first round is the first evaluation of your documentation, and at the end we will issue a deficiency report. Then the company has the time to answer to the deficiency found during the evaluation. Then we will evaluate the answer, and this is the second round. And this will be closed with the issuance of the certification report of technical file or with another deficiency. We as TÜV we could perform only 4 rounds of evaluation, this to avoid to be consultancy. So at the end we will issue the certificate or reject the file. But in the meantime, we could plan with all the reviewers involved a call to explain better how we expect as an answer to the deficiency. And then we perform the auditing part, then, because usually we plan the audit after the first evaluation of the technical file. Because if we didn't issue the certificate in the 6 months later after the performance of the audit, we need to repeat it again. So first, the first evaluation of the technical file, then we plan the audit, and after the audit, if it's possible, if the technical file part is closed, we suggest to the certification body the issuance of the certificate. All the documentation will be evaluated for another part that is a certification office in Munich, and then we issue the certificate. The audit is partially performed on site. For the first certification is divided into 2 stages, stage 1 and stage 2 audit, and then the certificate. For Chapter 2, that is applicable for Class 3 and Class 2B devices, we perform a separate application management process. So we will issue another quotation specifically dedicated to the technical file evaluation, and we perform an additional evaluation of the documentation with the release of final report. And we will issue a product certificate. This is Annex 10, that is a mix of the previous standard, and involves a part of testing on the product. And a type examination certificate will be issued after this testing and technical documentation assessment and audit part. This is our list of annex applicable in Annex 11 according to the classification of the device. And also there you could find all the activity that we perform for Annex 11, so Part A and Part B, that are more or less the same, only in a different, performed only in a different moment. And these are the Part B related to product verification that also involve a testing part. In case of specific procedure will be applied, we have to perform also, to involve also competent authority, for instance, for if there is a pharmaco, or for human load or animal origin, and additional evaluation will be performed on the technical file. So usually when we plan the evaluation of technical file, we start to involve all the reviewer related to the part that needs to be evaluated, so packaging, sterilization, and so on. And when we issue the quotation, we provide you also a slot reserved for the evaluation that you could accept or could ask us to change. These are the periodic and safety report update when are required and when needs to be evaluated. Okay. How you could start to contact a notified body, in this case us. So, we applied a unique way to collect all the requests from all over the world that is based on Germany. You could find this link, and you have to fill in all the information into this link related to your company, the classification that you take to be correct for the device, the conformity assessment, if you want also the 13485 certification, and then the request, this is for FDR and this one for IVDR, the request will be stored in a system, and we, as TÜV Italy, receive all the requests from the Western Europe, and we will send you a file that with a more detailed description of the required for the device. Especially for startup, is very usual that you didn't have all the information at this stage. For instance, the critical supplier involved in the production process. Don't worry, fill in the information that you have, and we will contact you, and we will plan with you a meeting to collect all the necessary information and to be informed if something will be changed in the near future. So as soon as you fill in, as I told, the onboarding page, you will receive the pre-application and appendix file, and then we will start with our technician, because the quotation is prepared by technician. The preparation of the quotation, we will contact you if needed, and we will send you the non-binding quotation. The IVDR is really similar. You have to fill in the Excel file, that is ABC appendix, at the beginning, and upload it on the web page directly, so without any other contact with us. Then we will issue the non-binding quotation, and as I told you previously, we will give you also an idea of when we could perform the evaluation based on the submission date that you will told us. So for instance, if you plan to obtain the certification in Q1 2025, you will, for instance, submit the technical documentation in Q2 2024, and then we will offer you a slot of evaluation telling you the first round will start in this date and will end in this date. You will receive in this date the answer, and so you will have, I don't know, 20 days to answer, and so on, for the second round and the final issuance of certificate. If you need, for sure, additional time to answer it depends on the deficiency found. You could ask us after the receipt of the deficiency to postpone this kind of evaluation. When you sign the non-binding quotation, a project handler is assigned to you. A project handler is a technical expert with a qualification according to your kind of device that will contact you, plan all the evaluation, and start to ask you the documentation needed for the evaluation. We as customer service are also involved because if you need any kind of support, you could contact us. Timeline and expected. Timeline and expected cost. So we are talking about new certifications. So as told previously, we need to perform a pre-application evaluation. So you send us the appendix ABC with all the information. We start the evaluation. We verify the classification suggested by you, and we issue the non-binding quotation within 13 working days. After this, you have the time to accept and to submit the application and the non-binding quotation signed. The application is mandatory. You could apply only to one notified body for the device. So you could not apply with more than one notified body. Till the application, you could ask quotation to everyone, but when you choose, you could apply only to a single notified body. Then, when we receive the application, we start the application review, because we need to receive a positive outcome from the notified body, that is TÜV SÜD Product Service in Germany. So we prepare the application review, our technician, your project handler, we prepare the application review, we submit the application to the notified body, and they will approve or deny the certification project. They will, for instance, told us, okay, you have planned 10 days to perform the audit, less than 10 days for sure, less than 10 days, but for us it's not sufficient or are too much. So you have to revise the quotation. When we obtain the application review approved, we issue the order confirmation, and the quotation is legally binding, and we start with the technical file evaluation. Usually we ask the technical file when you send us the application. So if you sign an application, you have to send us the technical file evaluation, but this technical file will be not evaluated in this moment. So we suggest you to send us the draft of your technical file and to take all the time to complete the technical file. Then and to submit again the technical file as soon as we will start with the evaluation. This is the assessment phase. So first cycle, 14 working days from the receipt of the documentation to the first response. Then 15 working days. This is negotiable. So if you need additional time, we could replan also the second evaluation cycle, and so on. These are the previous are the standard timeline. We could also offer expedite services and dedicated or on-site services with a higher price, but less time. You see that also there is a possibility to apply directly with application phase without pre-application. This application phase is related to already certified MDR company, already certified with the TÜV SÜD MDR company. Because if you are already certified for an MDR device in the same conformity assessment and you need to add a device, is not needed the pre-application, you could apply directly to your project handler with a notification of change of the certificate, and we will perform directly the application review. These are the costs. So the hourly rate for the audit and the technical file evaluation and the application management part. and this is all. Thing that I want to explain better is the ISO 13485 certification. That is a voluntary certification, but the ISO 13485 is the harmonized standard for MDR and IVDR. So if we perform the audit, you will for sure receive an ISO 13485 audit. So if you are interested with a really small additional price, you will receive also the ISO 13485 certificate. This is all. I don't know if you want, Stefano, want to add something?
I want only to adjust that it's the best way is to perform a combined audit. Cioè, request to the notified body a combined audit ISO and CE mark. So you reduce the effort and reduce the cost. Okay, if you want the additional ISO 13485 code, because in any case we will perform a quality management system assessment. And the base of this assessment is under ISO 13485. Take in consideration 99% of our customers have combined audit with CE mark product and ISO 13485 certification. We issue the ISO 13485 certification together in combined audit with the CE mark under German accreditation, DHKKS, because the notified body is in TÜV SÜD product service based in Germany, and they follow the rule of this national accreditation. In case an ISO 13485 certification standalone, we are able to provide also under Italian accreditation accredited. All our auditors are authorized for ISO 9000, ISO 13485, DD, MDR, and MDSAP combined audit. We have a lot of customers and that requested to us all the standard in a combined audit. It's important because combined audit is the best way to save money, save time, and reduce the effort. Okay, it's important to know. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so if you have some questions, we are open to.
Proceed.
Please, Antonio.
No,
You don't want to answer anything.
no, anything about it.
Okay. So,
Yeah, I'm going to read online questions to you. So, first one is from Medium, and she asks, what is the expected wait time for a Class 2A device? Since we are in transition and notified bodies are full of CE requests, long waiting times are expected. Any advice on how to speed up the process?
Oh, I don't know if all notified body have problem to receive application for Class 2A. In any case, so the notified body team last year performed a survey, and you can have some information about the medium time for the issue a certificate for a Class 2A. If I remember correct, it's 12 months. But in any case, I suggest to the the people that made the question, for the first, analyze who are the notified body authorized for the code. Ask to the notified body, as mentioned, Agnese, the company, the legal manufacturer can apply and can ask the non-binding quotation to the notified body, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's important that the notified body have the possibility to give a clear feedback, non-binding quote, effort and cost, but the time to evaluate the technical documentation and the slot for the on-site audit. It's important to have this kind of information. Another information is that the time depends on the quality of the documentation and the quality of the preparation of the manufacturer. It's not all 100% the time in charge to the notified body.
Currently, we are accepting application for Class 2A devices, and we plan when a company applies in this moment, we plan to perform the technical file evaluation if the documentation is ready, starting from Q2 or Q3 2024.
We are open to receive application for Class 2A. We have capacity, so taking consideration that we are more or less 2,000 employees. It's important to know that mainly we work with employees. Other questions?
Yes. Jose Malta also asked online, in the scope of a CE conformity assessment for medical device, does TÜV accept the QMS ISO 13485 certification already granted by other body, or TÜV will always audit the manufacturer QMS and issue a QMS certificate?
The ISO 13485 standard is a harmonized standard, so even if the company is already certified, also with us, we need to perform a complete audit to the quality system of the company according to the ISO 13485.
So I think the question is that if you issue always ISO 13485 certificate within the process of the notified body, you have already answered that is no. You have to ask for the certificate, right?
Yes,
Yes.
because
You
the
have to ask.
But the notified body will always perform the audit.
The audit of the quality
It's
management
mandatory.
system is
It's
mandatory.
mandatory.
The audit is voluntary to ask the certificate,
Yeah.
but the audit for the quality management system is mandatory.
Yeah. More questions? Okay.
We are a company related with doing Vitro diagnostic kits.
Okay.
And presently, we have a problem here in Portugal because we cannot find any specialists to give us some service like you are saying that Pedro is able to do it. Because
We are in Portugal.
You are the
Okay, I
specialist.
understand you. Yeah.
you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
The question is that we already, for instance, we already have 2 or 3 kits that we believe, at least one, we believe that there are IVDR more or less. We have a gap on the interferences studies, but we would like to have some people, I don't know, Pedro Nunes could do this to us.
Yeah, we can perform, I think, a gap analysis within your process in order to see if you check all the boxes about the requirements of IVDR. We have a huge types of services that we can help you. Maybe the first step is to get a meeting with you in order to understand what kind of a phase that you are in terms of documentation, in terms of testing, and then we proceed with all the steps that you should follow in order to get the notified body part. Because this is important, even if you have some knowledge that we are compliant with the IVDR, my experience is there are some boxes that you forget that you have to check. So maybe a gap analysis is the first step that you should do.
We have already our gap
Okay.
done, but like you said,
It's
we are
a
not
little bit
from-
different, yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's a
know.
completely different perspective, so we have to work on the work we already have done, but because
Yeah.
really the point is, it's not easy, this is the
Yeah.
issues.
So, yeah, we can
So
help
we
you,
will
and
be in
IVD is my
We will be in
expertise. So, I started with the IVD, and I'm a geneticist, so.
May I question to you?
Yeah.
Which is the class of the in vitro?
Most of them are class B. We have one class C, is class C? We have one class C kit.
So, but you are not in the market yet. You are
No,
not
we
the
are in the
legacy.
market,
You are
yes.
a legacy.
I will tell you more like how we
Okay,
started
so
here.
different. Okay,
I will tell you.
okay.
I used to work with an American company that sells and produce mass spec instruments. And in the meaning of the process with them, we have a company named Novartis that
Okay, I know.
is a Switzerland company. And they, at the time, 10 years ago, or no, more than 15 years ago, they want to start some kind of therapeutic monitoring in Europe.
Yeah.
And they choose Portugal because the director of Europe at that time was a Portuguese guy, and he chose Portugal to do some pilot studies. So we have been presented to them and to, for instance, Coimbra Hospital is our older customer, for doing a kind of therapeutic monitor of everolimus, which is there is a drug which is certified.
I know.
And they have a
I am
problem.
involved in that indirectly.
So you know. And we have put some machines on Coimbra to do this therapeutic monitoring. And after that, now we are trying to, that one I said that is almost IVDR compliant, at least as we believe, is for the core lab of Coimbra for the 4 immunosuppressants, which are more that monitoring on blood, which is everolimus, tacrolimus, sirolimus, and cyclosporin. And we are finishing that project for the core lab,
Okay.
But we will have to deliver all we already done the inscription on Infarmed, but we have to do it to Eldomed in the next coming year.
Okay,
Because
so
this is for
we can talk
yeah.
in
Then
private.
I will
Yeah, we
send an
are.
email and then we can talk.
I think we are able to help you,
Yeah.
and the process also TÜV SÜD can help you within the notified body process. But we can discuss it in more detail in private. More questions? Thank you.
There's no questions
Okay, so-
online anymore, at least. But we are having a little delay,
Okay.
like from the streaming to live. So in the meantime, we ask people at home to write questions, and if someone has questions here, to go ahead.
So yeah.
I would add something. In this moment, the time to obtain a certification from the application to the issuance of the certificate for MDR is 12 months, more or less.
1 year.
1 year, yes. And for IVDR, Class C and Class D is more than 1 year, actually is 15 months. So please consider this time when you need to apply.
Yeah.
Yes, we are working on Class D now, and I don't know, I can say, we think it's the last time, no? After too late, to respect the date, the final date in 25. Take this in consideration.
Yeah. So, more questions? No? No? So,
No?
thank you very much. Thank you for your presence here at home also. See you soon for another webinar, hopefully in the few months, and see you later. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also
Thank you to
for
all.
participating.
Thank you.